Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. Great to be along with you today. I have now, call it uncovered. It really wasn't that much of investigative work to figure out that this Biden executive order on the border is going to do nothing. Now, I know you've heard that on many of the conservative outlets, that this is only going to increase illegal immigration. I'm here to tell you exactly why. I have figured out what Joe Biden has done here, and it is not good for America. The whole thing is show and mirrors. The whole thing is about making it look like he's doing something while still appeasing those on the left. So what is Joe Biden doing? Just what he does in every single policy that he takes action on. He stands in the middle of the road. He tries to appease both sides, whether it's in Israel and Gaza, funding both sides of the war, whether it's the border policies, saying he's going to shut down the border, but still increasing the number of people claiming amnesty. Nothing good is going to come of this executive action. He needs to do a few things, and we'll go into what he could do that he's not doing that would actually help the situation on the border, but he just can't bring himself to do it because of his allegiance to the radical left. With that, folks, GrantStinchfield.com, Stinchfield 1776, that's where you find me. Let's get the party started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, great to be along with you. So here's the deal, folks. This order of limiting the number of people who can claim asylum to 2,500 is between ports of entry. So when the number gets over 2,500, the asylum claims have to stop. Now, here's what the mainstream media didn't tell you. Here's what the Biden administration didn't tell you. It's all about semantics. We don't care whether they're claiming asylum. We don't care whether they're claiming they want to be here for a worker visa. They're still coming, and they're coming illegally, and they're flooding the zone with illegals. This is what's going to happen. They put a pause on asylum claims, okay? But that doesn't mean they're not taken into custody. They are most certainly taken into custody. And then what appears to is going to happen is they will be given a promise to appear. They won't be given an asylum case. They'll just be given a straight immigration case. Now, it gets even more complicated than that, or less complicated, depending on how you look at it. If you're from Mexico, right now there's an agreement in place that they can push back Mexican nationals back into Mexico. But we don't have the agreements to return illegal aliens to Venezuela and Nicaragua and the other Central and South American countries. So what happens here? This means they, too, are taken in with promises to appear. They just don't have an amnesty claim, which means they're in. And remember, Joe Biden canceled 400,000 amnesty cases, not because he was sending them out of the country, but because he said, poof, just let them go away. You can stay here. 400,000 of them. So again, this is what we're going to see. Here's the other loophole to all of this. You ready for this? If you are a minor, which means under 18 years of age, this order doesn't apply to you. Even if there's 5,000 encounters in the day, the under 18 can still claim asylum. Now, we know that at the border, they have been ditching their passports, identification, all of these things that would allow anybody in a position of authority to identify who these people really are. They're ditching those identifications. So now we talked about Mexico. If you're from Mexico, you got to go back. Well, you ditch the identification. You don't know where they're from. There's no way to tell you. So they believe them. Yes, I'm from Venezuela. Meanwhile, he's from Tijuana and he wants in the country. They're in. Oh, wait, I'm 22 years old, a gang member from Venezuela. Well, I'm 17. No identification. How are you going to prove he's not over the age of 18? You can't. They're in. This is why they're dumping their identifications. So I had the opportunity to talk with Art Del Cueto with the Border Patrol yesterday. This is what he had to say about this entire stunt. And that's what it is. It's a border stunt.
This for you. Last night, they were sitting right under 4,400. They went to try to send some of these individuals back, and Mexico said no. Mexico said no. So we were back to normal as we've been the last 3.5 years. he used an executive order, but they're still releasing him. They're still catching and releasing. If you're from Mexico, then you are getting expedited back to Mexico, but everything else is just like it's been. So there has been no change whatsoever. That's just frustrating. I just got that news now, and I will say that all this bill will do once they try to enforce it somehow is it's going to go up in the number of children that are being brought into the country and smuggled. That's what this does, because it put an exempt order on children obviously on children, any minor under the age of 18. Keep in mind, under the age of 18 is what a minor is. So a lot of these individuals are 16 and 17. A lot of them are older than 16 and 17, but again, they throw away all their IDs. They have no IDs from being in the United States. They'll claim to be 16 or they'll claim to be 17, and then they'll go through the process as an unaccompanied juvenile. But this has become quite a mess, and honestly, they put the cart before the horse, if I may say, because they didn't plan for it. There was no planning. It's at midnight we'll do this. Well, guess what? Mexico had other plans. Mexico said, we're not taking any citizens unless they're Mexican citizens, and now they had to turn them around, reprocess them, and catch them and release them like they've been doing for the last 3.5 years. That's the reality of what's happening now.
Catch and release. Back to the same situation. They're ditching their IDs. We don't know who they are. You talk about minors, right? So many in the media think, oh, these are 3- and 4-year-old children. That's not the minors we're talking about. We're talking about the 15, 16, and 17-year-olds who look and act like military-aged males on the border that are coming through. And we're talking about the 20, 22, 23, 24, 25-year-olds who claim to be 17 years old because they ditched those identifications. So this is the frightening scenario that is unfolding on the border. Nothing is going to change. I have a interview, quick one, that I want to play for you from Oscar Ramirez, who is down in Tijuana, and what he has to say about what is going on and the cartels now and their involvement in how the border is going to be run. And their involvement really, it ups the ante in this. It gives the cartels more control, if you can believe this, Joe Biden's order. Sometimes you have to wonder if it's all by design or not. But I want to tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile, folks. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT. I have a Patriot Mobile phone right here. I'm grateful for this phone. It has 2 lines on it, but 1 phone. And I can literally just choose as I call which line I want to use. It's called the Patriot One plan. 1 phone, 2 lines, 2 different networks. So just the other day, we had a network go down. I think it was AT&T. I'm good. I got a Verizon line on my phone. So this is the kind of thing I want you to think about when you're talking about securing yourself, making sure you're prepared for anything. And then, of course, the ease and use. If you have a couple businesses, that's a great function for you. So patriotmobile.com/Grant, 972-PATRIOT. Use that promo code GRANT for free activation. 972-PATRIOT. Make sure you tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right. Oscar Ramirez is one of the great border reporters that has really been figuring out the true story when it comes to the NGOs, these non-governmental organizations, how they feed people into the United States, working with the cartels, if you can believe it. And now with this new executive order, the NGOs are going to use a workaround for all of this. This is Oscar Ramirez. I imagine you got to hear Arturo Cueto and I talk a little bit. Are you in agreement with what you heard? You're in Mexico, I guess in Tijuana. My biggest concern now is everybody's going to be claiming they're from Venezuela and they're not being sent back to Mexico.
Well, the biggest problem right here, and a lot of Americans, they do not realize it, is that the Biden administration, it is part of the globalist compact of immigration. That is the main problem. Meanwhile, the Biden administration, it is in this global compact. You're going to have a massive influx. And this is just a charade. It's just a charade to make everybody look bad. It is what I call the inhumanitarian agenda that is coming now. And that it's going to be part of blaming the Republicans. They're going to try to pass this bill to make everybody look like we are the human beings. We're the humanitarian. The Biden administration is the one that is taking care of migrants, and the Republicans, they don't want to sign it. Look, they're the ones that are inhuman. So they're going to rise this agenda, and they're going to make, all the migrants rise against the Republicans and all this kind of stuff. So it looks like that. at this point.
So now we got this executive order from Joe Biden with this 2,500 cap, which is a total sham. You're in Mexico. What do the cartels do? Do you have sources on the ground? What are the cartels thinking now? Do they change the way they do business with trafficking people into America?
Grant, the thing that is going to happen is aggravating. It is going to, exacerbate more the trafficking of people, exacerbate more the trafficking of human beings and children, and the prices is going to go up. Because the cartel, and it's not, they know what they're doing. They're extremely intelligent, highly technology. They have a lot of equipment, and they know that now the price for trafficking a person, if it was $2,000, now it's going to be double. Why? Because they know the numbers. If you're saying that it's 2,500 only that you're going to be allowed in, the cartel controls the open border gap. So they're the ones that they're managing the numbers. So now the numbers are going to go up. So what you're doing is that the cartel is going to be operating massively in the shelters, massively on every border space. And, a lot of people are going to come into the northern borders.
So here we go again. The cartels operating the southern border with complete control over it. So what needs to happen? I know you know this. Remain in Mexico needs to be the number one policy in place. I don't care what what Mexico says. You're taking them back. We're not taking. We're turning them away at the border. You can't come in. It's Mexico's problem. Mexico wants to stop the problem. Let them stop it at their southern border where they're coming across from the Darien Gap into Mexico. So you have remain in Mexico. You continue building border barriers, border walls, border fences, whatever you want to call them. You must continue building them. This is imperative. I would put a pause on all asylum claims as well at this point, and make sure that you defund the NGOs as well. The NGOs are working against America, not for America. So Governor Abbott of Texas, who's taken steps on his own to try to curb the flow of illegals into the United States, was asked about what should happen.
But know this, what Biden announced today is nothing more than gaslighting his fellow Americans. Because there is nothing in the announcement today that actually shows any enforcement of any immigration law that denies illegal entry into the country. He talks about trying to have this asylum process and changing the rules that actually will allow more people in. What Biden did today was actually entice more people to come to our border to increase illegal immigration, not to stop it. He's not using any tool or strategy to deny illegal immigration. Sean, importantly, there are three laws that exist that Biden is not enforcing. One is to deny illegal entry. The other is to detain illegal immigrants who do make it here. The third is to build border barriers. He's choosing not to do any of that. Instead, he's had open border policies that have led to more than 10 million illegal immigrants into our country.
They're all so important, the Remain in Mexico policy, the building border walls. But maybe the detaining of migrants may be the most important aspect of all of them. And the reason why I say that is it serves as a deterrent for future illegals. If they know they're being taken into custody and not released and ultimately returned. And these countries that say, there's no return order, screw them. I'd put them on a plane and send them back there anyway. They don't get a say. They want money from the United States. A lot of these countries are taking money and aid from the United States. All that should just be cut off completely. Those are important things to happen. So as you can imagine, the left, those left-wing commentators are now coming out and making all kinds of claims about Biden's executive action. Of course, they're trying to make us out to be racist. Listen to me and listen to me carefully. This isn't working anymore. This idea that all Trump supporters are racist, that President Trump is racist, is not working. That narrative is falling apart because people see the reality that the racism is coming from those on the left, but it doesn't stop Joy Reid from her craziness.
And the thing is, Paula, this is a good point that Jennifer makes, is that one of the things that red state governors, like the governors of Texas and Florida, have done is they've sent the problem, if you want to call it a problem of undocumented people, and they've shipped them all over the country, like the old, segregationists and the civil rights used to put black people on buses to say, hey, let's send them to your city so that you will be upset.
We're segregationists now? Busing black people in the 1950s is the equivalent of saying, you know what? We don't want them here. If you guys are saying you're a sanctuary city and you want them, then take them. That's all that's about. And by the way, every single one of these illegals signs a waiver saying, here's where I want to go. They put them on a bus. This is not kidnapping anybody. They're fully volunteering to get on these buses and go to New York City and California and those types of places. Joy Reid.
Then you've got these twin pressures. People can't afford rent. People are seeing economic, challenges in terms of affording things. And then they see migrants and they say, well, they're getting the money that should be coming to me. So this has become really effective. So Biden's response to it is to say, I'll be punitive. Does that seem to address it?
It doesn't, and that's another problem. And you're right. I mean, I think that's the interesting dynamic that's happening, right? One thing is being a New Yorker and talking about the border, being miles and miles away from the border. The other thing is suddenly all of these states becoming border states. But I think here's the thing. The bottom line is that any humanitarian aid worker at the border, any Catholic charity that's there, anyone that is working with migrants every single day will tell you that this initiative does not equal border security. For one very simple reason. As this is happening, the cartels will simply profit more. I mean, all this does is drive migrants and asylum seekers to rely on the cartels to find other ways and other routes and more money to do what inevitably happens, which is finding different ways into the United States. I mean, and that is that's human nature. That's the story of migration. Deterrence, walls, these punitive policies do not stop desperation. That's just, I mean, we know that that's part of this story, and that's what, unfortunately, we're going to see.
All right, so she's right and she's wrong. It's interesting to hear this on MSNBC because I'm actually shocked at what she was saying. She was acknowledging that Biden's border policy now is not going to do anything, and it will end up helping the cartels, who will be even more needed to try to funnel these people in ways and places that Border Patrol isn't expecting. So she is correct on that. But when she says the border walls and stopping people from coming in don't work, it certainly does work. It slows it down. Now, what they want is absolute perfection, meaning, well, if you're going to tell me you build a border wall and it doesn't stop everyone, then it didn't work. Well, we know that's not true. I mean, if you build a border wall and you stop 80% and 20% get in, that's a hell of a lot better than 100% getting in before the wall was built. So there is a level here of where nothing is going to be perfect. There will always be people that manage to sneak into America. But we've got to do more to make sure that it's fewer and fewer and fewer. And that just, folks, is not happening. This is Ted Cruz.
Joe Biden and the Democrats have presided over a criminal invasion of the United States of America. We are facing the worst illegal immigration our nation has ever seen. 11 million illegal immigrants have come in, invited by the Democrats. When Joe Biden came into office, he inherited the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. All he had to do was nothing. Just sit there and stare at the wall. But instead, he deliberately broke the system.
94 executive actions to upend border security as we know it, to enable the attack on America by these illegals. You know, Ted Cruz used the exact, basically, ideology as President Trump. President Trump would say all Joe Biden had to do was go to the beach. Everything was fine. Just go to the beach, lie out in the sun. All the policies were in place. Don't do anything. Let it work. But he didn't do that. He upended everything, and then he went to the beach, unfortunately, which isn't going to work. Not going to work for me. Hey, folks, with everything going on in the world today, I would urge you to give my friends at the Wellness Company a visit, twc.health/Grant. They've got these prescription medication kits that I think every single American family should have in their homes. This is about speed of delivery. If, God forbid, something was to happen in your home, you need these antibiotics, antivirals, including ivermectin, by the way. Ivermectin in these kits, unheard of, right? It's very hard to get ivermectin. You can from the Wellness Company. twc.health/Grant. Again, natural disaster, some crazy event, drugstores closed. What do you do if you or your family needs these prescription medications? Well, this way, you have them on hand. That's what's so great about the Wellness Company. twc.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. Get one of these kits in your house to protect your family in case of an emergency. All right? Go to the Wellness Company. Use that promo code GRANT, And I promise you, you will not be disappointed. twc.health/Grant. All right. Moving on here. I've got a clip of Speaker Johnson, ho-hum on this, talking about the border crisis.
Neil, January 3rd of this year, I took 64 House Republicans down to the border. It's the largest contingency of members of Congress that had ever been to the border. We went to Eagle Pass, which was the epicenter of all the problems. And they told us there, the Border Patrol agents themselves told us, 33-year veteran of the agency, who was the deputy of the agency, told us that the problem is the Remain in Mexico. If you reinstated Remain in Mexico policy that President Trump did, you would stop the illegal flow by 70%. That was the clear admission of the people there on the ground, and that was the advice that I delivered to President Biden myself. He refused to do it. If he really wanted to solve the border, Neil, he could close the border entirely. But this half-measure executive order he just did actually exacerbates the problem. He is allowing thousands of people over the border every day before they just begin to enforce existing federal immigration law. It makes no sense, and everyone wants to know around the country why would they do that? Because they want to turn these people into voters. That's the only thing, the only rational explanation for what they've done.
Bingo. They want to turn these people into voters. And we already know in some cities and towns, they're letting illegals vote in city elections. Now, it's illegal to vote in a federal election if you're not a citizen, but it's only a matter of time before that happens. And you know right now there are illegals voting in federal elections. Heck, in California, you get a driver's license. You don't have to prove that you're a citizen. And by the way, in every state across the country, you don't have to prove you're a citizen. You don't show them any passport or social security card. You just literally go register to vote, and it is on the honor system. That, folks, is absurdity. It is insane that we work on an honor system like that. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Stinchfield. Real America's Voice tonight. We're going to talk a lot about Hunter Biden tonight. That case going on full, and Joe Biden D-Days shenanigans were not good either. So 7 o'clock Eastern time on Real America's Voice. Please check that out tonight. The website, GrantStinchfield.com, GrantStinchfield.com. Sign up for the email list. Sign up for the podcast. And, of course, at Stinchfield1776 on just about all the social media platforms. Thanks for watching, folks. Stinchfield's Army rolls. We'll see you soon.